oldest building in Sydney, St. George's Church. It was erected as a military church, during which point Sydney wasn't even Sydney yet. You're still getting things founded, and the English officers that took over this island went to worship here. Funny thing, I mentioned Louisbourg was kind of a rubble pile, and it was all store-owned, harvested from northern France. This is all Louisbourg stone.
Oh.
So you have French stone that was originally used in a French settlement, repurposed to create an English church. Life's funny sometimes, but all of the stone you see here originally came from northern France. And I don't have the full in-depth history of this building like I did in St. Pat's because I don't exactly run this. But yeah, the
But
English
this is the oldest standing building or church?
building, not just church.
Building.
Oh.
Yeah,
So they got the stones for free. They didn't care if it was
Yeah.
French, but it was
they got
free.
it for free, so
Yeah.
they used it. A lot of buildings around here used it. Anything that's this kind of
Yeah.
smooth cut stuff you see around, it's Louisbourg. St. Pat's, when we were just at, they were kind of late to the party when gathering the Louisbourg stone, so they were able to get some. The inner archway is, but most of it had to be forged local, and their stone, like 95% of it was harvested from Low Point, which is about 3 kilometers down the harbor that way.
Oh, okay.
That's where they got all their stone.
Interesting.
Gee, did you see the vines on that house?
I did.
up there?
See the night. Go right on the front there, you'll see old, it used to be an all-girls high school. The only will be treated as such.
Yeah.
This building over here was built in, I believe, the 60s or so, so not as historically relevant, and a lot of office space. Celtic Colors uses it as their main headquarters. A lot of places come in here and use mostly for office space.
So this is where your aunt can go to redeem herself?
There's no place like that.
Special place.
I know there's a special place in hell for me. It's called a throne. Yeah, so that's that building. Don't want to get too close because there may not work, and I.
God, this is weird.
What?
People stopping when you're at the crosswalk. Usually that means they speed up.
Really?
Yeah.
So this is Sacred Heart, as mentioned. North spire, very tall, strong, proper. South spire, you could use some Viagra. Recently closed down about 6 years ago. This past winter it was purchased by a local businessman, and I'm not sure if they've started the renovations or they will be starting soon, but it's going to be converted into a sound recording studio.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so
That's pretty cool.
yeah, so
Very neat. So there it is. It was built in.
Are they just gonna
1889.
leave those?
yeah, that's when it was rebuilt, like after the fire tore it down.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, the parish established was 1825, which is St. Pat's.
Right.
This building was
Yeah.
rebuilt in 1889. The original
Okay.
was 1877.
Till the fire.
Until the fire tore this all down,
Right.
and they rebuilt it.
Oh, gotcha.
And then that fires happened, but they were
Yeah.
able to save the building.
Yeah.
Sizes and everything.
Do you think they'll bring it back down to its stone or?
I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you. I should be able to tell you because I know the guy who bought it, but
Wow. Very interesting. That's a big building.
it is. I say you could fit 4 St. Pat's
Yeah.
inside of this one. I mean, that's how big the Catholic population was. So this one and another one joined up with St. Joseph's. And main
Oh.
reason is because just St. Joseph's is more centrally located.
Right.
And this is still kind of downtown. Not a
Yeah.
lot of people live in this
Yeah.
area. So that's the main reason why this one shut down. A lot of people on ships come in and are like, you're all heathens now. All your churches are shutting down. I'm like, hey, I'm the only heathen here. A lot of people are actually good and going to heaven. Me, not so much. And I'm okay with that. No, there is still a very strong Catholic population on the island.
Because it's loaded. These guys are tall.
Yeah. So watch your heads.
So like mom's
Now let's open the door so we can see a little better. So stay over there, I'll bring some chairs over so you ladies, if you want to sit, you can sit. If you like to be comfortable. I'm gonna try and give you a little bit extra history here, so you might want to be comfortable. There's 2 rockers over there, a couple of chairs here, and then there's the stuff. So you can even sit there, John. Okay, we're on the stairs, that's good. So, welcome to the Jost House, and welcome to Sydney. First time, well, obviously it's not your first time here, I don't think, is it?
For Julie, it is.
Oh, okay, good. So are you enjoying it?
Yes.
Pretty laid back here, aren't you?
Yeah.
I should
That's a
have done
good thing.
introductions. Sorry, everyone. This is Jay. You mentioned. This is my Uncle Guy, Aunt Sheila,
Pleased to meet you.
Uncle Charlie,
Hi.
and Julie, his girlfriend.
Hi. Nice to meet you all. So, what did you tell them about tell them anything about the founding of Sydney Running?
Yep.
Yeah.
All about the bar in Lewisburg and the whole thing leading up to it.
Oh, good. Okay. Did you tell them about David Matthews?
Crossing Peters Fieldway.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you covered it all.
I tried.
Yeah, see, you should be doing the tour. So.
He did an awesome
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
That's why we asked him to do
Yes,
it.
yes, he's good. So you know all about that. So David Matthews was the 43rd mayor of New York City. So look him up. Interesting. You told him about the plot and everything, did you?
Not the plot to assassinate Washington, but
No.
that he came up and all that.
Okay, yeah. So David, okay, so we like to have some fun. So when Sydney was founded, as Jonathan said, the bar came with soldiers, settlers, and about 200 loyalists come up from New York State. David Matthews is one of them. So loyalists were people who want to remain loyal to Britain after the American Revolution, so they came to Canada. So we call them loyalists, you guys call them traitors. Or Tories. Right? Right. So David Matthews, he literally was a traitor. He was the 43rd mayor of New York City. He was involved in the plot to kill George Washington. And he failed, and he got arrested. Thomas Hickey got hanged for the deed. Now, so I picked this up from Ken. I can't tell you if the story is true or not, but apparently David Matthews invited George Washington to supper. And he poisoned the peas. Okay? So George Washington didn't like peas, so the story was he flicked them off his plate. And the chickens ate him and died. So that's how they got him. Okay? Trying to kill him. So when he came here, he was no better up here. We didn't like him any more than you guys. He was just no good all around. Did you tell him about Cosset and the conflict?
Not that I told him that he wasn't allowed to be buried in the churchyard.
Yeah, because Cosset hated him so much that he wouldn't bury him. He refused to bury him. That's why he's buried across the water in Petersfield Park. But that was his estate at the time.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, so so we're telling the story, you know, and we have all these people, and so this one guy says, yeah, he's over there resting in peace. So I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
Yes.
I don't know if you heard that part, did you?
No, I didn't hear that
No.
one. I did hear he was buried with a better view than he ever did over here. So
Yeah,
then he
exactly.
got
Yeah,
last
but then later on, so he did. He got the better plot of
Yeah.
land, but the resting in peace
Yeah,
is really
it's
cool.
pretty good.
Yeah. But that came from the passengers after. I think I forget who was telling the story. I think it was Ken,
Okay.
and they said, "Yeah, he's over there resting in peace." So I use that all the time. So this house was built in 1786, the year after Sydney was founded, and it was built by a gentleman named Samuel Sparrow, and he came here from Charleston, South Carolina. Sparrow was a shipbuilder, a ship owner, and a merchant, and a good friend of the Bauer. So he hired him to come here to supply the new colony. And he's not related to Jack. I know you're thinking that.
Jack Sparrow.
So Sparrow, he was pretty busy, but he and the Bauer were such good friends. He said, "I'll come and help you out." So he sent his crew ahead in the fall of 1786. He brought servants with him, not his family, because he wasn't staying too long. So his crew dug out the basement here in 1786, put the kitchen here. Then they rolled two small buildings on top. See this? See these beams here? Now, see where it says caution low ceiling? Totally different beams. The house is joined two pieces together right along there. Still here today, amazingly, when you think about it. So Sparrow, he lived upstairs in the bedroom, and the servants lived in the basement and cooked. You wouldn't live on the same level as your servants back in the day, so that's why he dug out the basement for them. And because the two buildings were nearby, and they had to do this in a big hurry. In October 1786, I'm thinking we were probably in the middle of winter here at that time. Yes, no global warming in those days. So he stayed about 2 years, and then he went back home to South Carolina. Then the ownership of this house changed over the next 48 years. In 1836 is when the Jost family came here. They came here from Germany. They bought the property. They ran a general store in front of the building and operated till around 1850. By that time, they were actually doing quite well in Sydney, even though we were small. They built a brand new store, which is that building right behind here. And then this became the Jost family home. So they lived in this building from 1850 right up until 1971. Wow. 121 years. That's why it's known as the Jost house. So in 1971, Mrs. Jost passed away. Nobody in the family wanted the home anymore, so it was sold. But in 1990, it was purchased by a local businesswoman here in Sydney. Her name was Joan Harris. Joan bought the property and had it restored to the museum we have today. It took over a year. They had to peel off a lot of stuff and fix up a bunch of stuff. So it took over a year, mostly out of her own pocket, and she gave it back to the community. She was part of the Old Sydney Society at the time, and she actually brought the cruise ship industry to Sydney. So she started, Holland America started coming here on a regular basis probably in the mid-1980s. So Joan decided, well, we need something for the people. We only had costs at House and St. Pat's Church by that point in time. So that's why she did that. And then when she did that, she started the walking tours that we do off the ship. That's how we generate our income. And, Old Sydney too, because we get paid so much a passenger, and then we split it with Old Sydney. We get half each, because we use their museums, and so that's how it works. And I think she was a real visionary, because when I look back at that time, there weren't that many ships. And last year we had, I've been here 10 years. When I started here 10 years ago, we had 40. This year we have 96. Wow. So the industry is growing. The cruise ship industry is growing big. And I just got bad news from Kenneth. It looks like our dock's not going to be here next year, so we're going to lose a lot of
didn't
ships.
see that coming.
Yeah, they got to get off their rear ends and do something.
What's going on with the dock?
Well, we finally got all the approval on that, and now they just expropriate the land, but the tenders are too high. They're going 3 years ago or 4 years ago when they decided they're going to do it. It was $20 million. Now they can't get anybody to do it for that. It's probably 25 or 26 million.
Right.
And by the time they get it settled, you're probably going to go up to 30 million.
Yeah.
So, but the longer it takes, the more it's going to cost,
Yeah.
and nobody got the money. If the provincial government said, okay, we'll give you this, the federal government gave us some, the rest is on us, and we got no money.
Right.
So I don't know. It's crazy. You know, we're gonna kill the cruise ship industry if we don't pick up that
Okay.
dock.
And that includes dredging out the Sydney Harbor, or what?
A little bit
is that-
here, but basically everything's fine. It was
Yeah.
already dredged a couple of years back for the container port.
Yeah, yeah,
So if things go right, the Chinese are coming in to build a container port here. So
right.
we should get them
Hopefully,
to build
yeah.
the dock too. I think.
Yeah.
Really, because it's gonna be detrimental to the cruise ship industry if we don't get them
Yeah.
ships built, that dock built.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the downside. However, now so that's basically the history of the house itself. Cossett House, Reverend Cossett, you told him about Cossett, 1787.
Not that, we just kind of walked past it and it was like, it was
Oh.
the Reverend's house and the
Yeah.
doctor.
So he came here in 1787, and he was the first minister for St. George's Church. I saw you when I was leaving. I saw you down from the church there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you're around tomorrow, everything is open. Church will be open too, because it's cruise ship day tomorrow.
Right.
So St. George's will be open if you get a chance to go see it. It's a beautiful church. Yeah. So the kitchen. So this was the kitchen back in 1786 in Sparrow. He was from England, so this is what you would find in England back in the 1700s. And it's kind of unique. It's the only house in Sydney that has this feature. So the cooking would be done here, and you have your working crane. All your pots are down below here, the old cast iron pots and that they would have used at the time. Then we have a bread oven. And so it's called a beehive oven because of the rounded ceiling, but it looks like a pizza oven.
Yeah.
And it's quite unique in the fact that in order here you would cook and bake at the same time. It's the only house in Sydney has this feature. And in order to cook and bake at the same time, you actually had to light two fires. One here, and then one down below here for the bread oven. Okay? So that was the difference. Now also, so back in the day, the only way to test for heat in that oven was to put your hand in there. Okay? So it'd be a little hot. So now I'm going to tell you something. The ladies were pretty smart back in those days, because guys were dumb.
We still are.
We keep burning our hand. But you guys figured it out a lot faster than we did. You said, I'm not going to keep burning my hand. So here's what you did. And it's so simple. That simple as a feather. Okay? So what you did, when you thought it was ready for baking, you put the feather in the oven instead of your hand. If it caught fire, it was too hot. Caught fire right away. But if it smoked on the edges, if it singed, then it was ready for baking. There you go. See? And we couldn't even build you anything like that. You hung yellow beans here in the fall. Now I know you guys in the States, you guys are green bean fans. I'm a yellow beans fan. So. Anyway, we'd leave them here in the fall, and then use them in soups and stews over the winter, and then take them in the spring and plant whatever was left. That was your seeds. Everything was whitewashed back in the good old days, even the chickens. They would brush whitewash on the chickens to keep the bugs and parasites out. And depending on where you live in the U.S., we used to whitewash our trees here, but we don't have to anymore.
Yeah.
But in Florida and some southern Texas nets, they still whitewash the trees to keep the bugs out. Whitewash is a natural pesticide, and it's so simple. All it is lime, salt, and water. So this is actual whitewash. We did the whole basement there 2 years ago, and then Kenneth touched it up last year. But it still falls off, but you still got to keep working on it. Now, here in Cape Breton for over 200 years, we had coal. Coal was our bread and butter, coal and steel. So I have some coal here. And as a kid, we always threatened if you were bad at Christmas, you'd get coal in your stocking. We all were. Yeah. I'll let you know a little secret. Today, you won't. Because this stuff's $250 a ton now. So you just go to the dollar store and buy some junk now. The candle molds up there, they made their own candles, not the nice ones we have today. They were made of beeswax and fat and everything. They'd be awful. You wouldn't even want to light them today, for sure. Then we have a few articles here. Now I don't have any flint, but if you had flint, you would carry it in that pouch and that would start your fire. There was no matches back in the day. And you would just carry that in your pocket. And of course, fancy old egg beater or mixer. Now, this would be still used in Wisconsin today, cheese tester. So they made their own cheese and butter, so they would stick that in and put a little plug
yeah.
and test it for age and then slide it back in with their finger. Your original mashers,
Wow.
or keep your husband in line. So, I call this our first multi-tool because it's a masher, but it's also a grater. You can grate your cheese with it too.
Cool.
And I'll let you guess what this is.
Pro tip, I couldn't figure it out when he first asked me.
Does this turn?
I didn't know either, so
Yeah.
yes it does, yeah. You put something in there, you turn it, and it pops out. Can't get any simpler than that. And it's not a grinder or a grater.
Like
Butterscotch.
bottles and.
What?
Butter scoop?
Yeah, so yeah. Also, it's an ice cream scoop.
What?
Ah.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy, well, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Cool.
He knows because he's an ice cream guy.
You like ice cream?
Yeah.
I'd rather this than what they got today. If it had
Yeah,
it was
no
nice new
kidding.
shiny one, it'd be way better
How
than what we
does it
have
work?
today. You just put the ice cream in there and you turn that.
Like you scoop it. And then
Turn that and it pops it in.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's kind of cool. I can't believe they had Tim Hortons back then.
They didn't.
Oh,
Speaking of Tim Hortons, hockey player. He started. He never even got to see the benefits of his donut shop. And now I'm so mad they don't even mention him in the stores anymore.
yeah, they used to have his picture.
They used to have his picture and all that. Now they don't even mention. Like kids today have no idea who in the hell Tim
Yeah.
Horton was.
Yeah.
No, it's too bad because he did something great and started something big and
Yeah.
just kind of got forgotten about. This is my favorite article here. It's an egg basket and it holds 6 eggs, and you can put the eggs in your pot of water and boil them and lift them out. They're not nowhere in North America, but they're in Europe and places like that in Australia, but not here. Anybody know what that is?
Tap for a keg?
Tap for a keg, yeah.
Oh.
Called a spigot. Tap for your barrel.
Wow.
Everything came in barrels back in the day.
Good guess, eh?
Then, you don't. We're lucky we didn't have to use these things.
Mom
They make
has
great
those.
door stops today, though.
Oh,
The old flat irons.
Jeez.
And then these were scales. They would have used them for lifting, weighing their meat. They're spring loaded, so. Today we just have the nice scales at the grocery store to drop everything on, but then you had to actually physically lift it.
Jeez, eh?
Okay, so now we'll go over to the other side. Watch your head coming through.
Can we bring our shoes?
Too many guys.
So back in the day, the wealthy people ate off of these and the poor people ate off the wooden bowls. Guess who lived longer?
Ah, the wooden bowl.
The poor people. These were loaded with lead. They didn't realize they were poisoning themselves yet. Today, a computer doesn't have lead in it anymore. Here's a mailbox. And it's only for show because in 1786 there was no mailboxes, there was no post office, but we wrote letters to England, to France, and the United States back at that time. So paper was at a premium. We had none. So if you wrote me a letter back in 1786, you'd have to double space it. Okay? And if I had a reply, I'd have to fill in the blanks and I'd send it back to you. And that's where the expression read between the lines came from.
Jeez.
Right?
Your handwriting
Makes sense.
perfect. Word.
And today we're doing the same thing, just a little differently, email.
Yeah.
So if you send me an email, I hit the reply button and
Yeah.
send you your message back along with the answer
That's
underneath.
it,
But it's
yeah.
still the same principle.
Yeah.
And back in 1786, it would take months to get a letter from England and back, even probably from the US. Today we send messages all over the world in seconds because we have wonderful wireless devices. Now, the first wireless message in North America was actually sent from here in Glace Bay, 10 miles from here, to Ireland back in 1902. That's how long wireless has been around. Who sent the message?
Marconi.
Marconi, yeah. Very good.
Sorry. Didn't mean to
So
ruin
thanks to Marconi, we have wireless technology. Now, thanks to Bell and Marconi, we have the cell phones. You have both technologies into one. I just gotta grab something here. So we have to admit the technology's pretty cool, right? Today, you know, we can keep in touch anywhere in the world. There's so many different things you can do. But for every good thing, there's always a bad thing.
Yeah.
So here's the downside of your technology. And here's a picture of a car. I got part of it hidden up. And if you look at the driver's seat, it's a stick of dynamite. Some people say it's an old lady with a hat on and a flower in it. But, okay, you see that?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so here's the kicker. This is the downside. It says, honk if you love Jesus. Text while driving if you'd like to meet him. Lots. Like we used to always say, as slow as molasses going up a hill, because when you poured the molasses, it'd be there in 10 minutes before it come up to you know. That's how thick it is. I mean, really, really thick. So therefore, everything would just float in it and it wouldn't break. So that was good packing.
Yeah.
So when they took the glass out of the barrel, the kids would lick the molasses off the glass for a treat, just like we lick the bowl of molasses. So things really haven't changed in time. We just do it a little different. And these beams and those are 200. These are hemlock, so you can see the difference. These are much bigger than those. So these were probably, well, they were all local, but hemlock at that time around here was fairly big. We have some around, but it's a lot smaller today. And over here we have a washing machine, ladies.
Oh, nice.
And quite an interesting piece of machinery. Basically, it's just a scrubber. And you would just scrub your clothes with it, and that was a big step up over beating them on a rock. These things are pretty worn now because the springs are. That's it. You would just literally scrub them on that, and then you still have to wring them out by hand. Now, so it was invented by or patented by a gentleman named David Fairchild. And David Fairchild, he worked for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So he also married Alexander Graham Bell's daughter. So David Fairchild was Alexander Graham Bell's son-in-law. But his claim to fame is not his little machine here. His claim to fame is in Miami, Florida. Ever been there? No. Okay, we can look it up if you want. Anyway, David Fairchild built botanical gardens in Miami, Florida called the Fairchild Gardens. And that's what he's more famous for than the washing machine. So it's a small world when you connect the dots.
Yeah, no kidding.
So they got around. The Bells were very influential people in all over North America, really. And probably Britain too, because Bells are originally from Scotland. They lived in Philly, had their summer home here, and then Fairchild, same thing. And then the gardens in Miami. Yeah. So it's quite an interesting history.
Yeah, connection and
All right, so now we're going to hit on.
Imagine doing all your scrubs and that.